Hey everyone, I recently saw The War of the Rohirrim, belatedly, and, well, I figured it'd be a good time to do a Lord of the Rings ranking. I have now seen all 10 movies. Oh yeah, there are 10 of these things. I have not seen the Rings of Power TV show, I'm only focusing on the movies. I'll try not to get all spoilery with the new one, but just consider this a general spoiler alert. Starting off, number 10 is The Return of the King from 1980. These three animated movies that they did back in the 70s and 80s, I've only seen them once each, and this one is the least memorable of them. This is from Rankin Bass, the same team that did that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer short that people watch every year. The animation is good. It's not great. It's good. This movie's less than 100 minutes long, so the plot is greatly condensed, but it's still pretty good. The voice acting is solid. The music is good, but when you put it up next to the music from the actual live-action trilogy, it pales in comparison.
He had come again, bringing ruin, turning hope to despair and victory to death.
Begone, foul Dwymer Lord of Carrion. Leave the dead in peace.
Come not between the Nazgul and his prey!
At the end of the day, kind of like the others, this feels like a... not a dry run, but like... I don't know. Like, these movies walked so that Peter Jackson could run, if that makes sense. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 9 is The Hobbit from 1977. This one is in the same boat as The Return of the King, it's just a bit more memorable. This one is also from Rankin Bass, so it's pretty much in the same boat as The Return of the King. The animation is good. Voice acting is good. The action that we get is pretty good.
But funny little birds, they had no wings. Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things? Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things? Roast them alive,
Or stew 'em in a pot, fry them, boil them, eat them hot.
bake and toast them, fry and roast them till beards blaze and eyes glaze, till hair swells and skins crack, fat melts and bones black in cinders lie beneath the sky. So the dwarf shall die. 15 birds in 5 fir trees, their feathers were fanned in a fiery breeze. But funny little birds, they had no wings. Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things?
There's nothing about this that really surpasses the live-action versions. This one is about 20 minutes shorter than Return of the King. This one's about 77 minutes long. So, if you don't have all day, but you want to get a condensed version of the story, this is a good way to get it. It's not as memorable. So, yeah. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 8 is The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. Here's the thing about the Hobbit trilogy. I'm not one of those people who thinks that splitting the book at all was a mistake, but 3 movies was too much. They had to add too much, they had to pad it out too much, it just didn't work. They needed 2 movies. And I think this is the movie that suffers from that the most. The last movie ended with Smaug leaving the mountain, and this movie starts with his attack. That should have been like the midpoint of a second movie, or maybe the end of Act 1 of a second movie. But I digress, here we are. If this trilogy has one saving grace, it is Martin Freeman. Everyone else is doing their part, but he is the standout here. Every time he is on screen, the material is elevated, and thank you, Martin. Thank you for all you've done for these movies. The action here is good. I wish we'd gotten more of it, but the action is genuinely good. Probably the best action scene in the whole movie is that set piece where they're fighting Smaug. I have not read the book, but I know what happens, and I love some of the changes they make, like basically upping the difficulty for the fight against Smaug. I love that.
Tell me, wretch, how now shall you challenge me? You have nothing left but your death.
Blade, look at me. You look at me. Little to your left. That's it.
There are some small things that don't make sense, but it doesn't ruin it for me. And for better or worse, this movie is a satisfying conclusion to this largely underwhelming trilogy. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 7 is The Lord of the Rings from 1978. This was not one of the Rankin Best productions. This one comes to us from Ralph Bakshi, I think this one had a bigger budget than the other two, because this one looks and just feels so much better. It's still not great. It is still very much a heavily condensed version of the story, but it does a better job with it in terms of writing. It probably helps that this one is over 2 hours long. It's at 132 minutes. So it has more time to actually do things, and it does things. I've actually read the Lord of the Rings books. I haven't read The Hobbit, but I've read Lord of the Rings. This is a more faithful retelling of the story. So, like when you get to the Battle of Helm's Deep, the elves don't show up. It's just humans fighting against the orcs. Or the Uruk-hai. The animation here is better. The action scenes feel much bigger and more epic. I mentioned the writing. The music here is, again, not the most memorable, but easily the best of these animated movies. The voice acting is definitely the best of these three. Scrolling through the cast list, we have some names I don't recognize. We have Anthony Daniels as Legolas, C-3PO, for those of you who don't know the name. John Hurt as Aragorn, who is definitely the best part of this movie. Like, everyone is doing their part. Everyone is doing a good job, but John Hurt is the best.
Well, you have put your foot in it this time.
Who are you?
I am called Strider. Everyone knows me here.
Well, we don't.
You've been very careless so far, Mr. Frodo Baggins.
My name is Mr. Underhill.
After your performance tonight, it won't matter what you call yourself. The Black Riders will know who you are by morning. They already know what you bear.
Who are you, really?
I am Gandalf's friend. He asked me to watch out for you.
Oh, Gandalf? Have you seen him? Where is he?
I do not know. We were supposed to meet him here, but I've had no word, no message. It is the first time that I've ever feared for him.
I don't really see anyone else I recognize, but everyone else does a good job. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 6 is The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. This was a bit of a letdown, but it's still a fun movie. If nothing else, this movie does successfully recapture the feeling of the Fellowship of the Ring, with bringing everyone together for this adventure and kicking things off and building and setting up the groundwork for things to come. It is less successful than Fellowship of the Ring, but it has that feel.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light.
Like I said, these movies should have been 2 movies. This should have been the first 2/3 of a movie, and then there should have been like half of the second movie on the end of it. Find a dividing point midway through Desolation of Smaug, and split that, and there you go. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. I don't know everything that was added, but this one was less hurt by the split than the third movie was. There feels like there's less padding and whatnot. There's still a little bit here and there. It doesn't completely succeed at what it's trying to do, I guess, is just the best way to put it. Our score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 5 is The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. This was the peak of the trilogy. This is the one that was the least hurt by the split, which is ironic considering that for better pacing, they should have split this movie down the middle. Approximately. It doesn't have to be exactly halfway, but find a good ending point partway through this one and split it and put part of it on the end of 1 and part of it at the beginning of 2. What could have been? But no, it's like the first one was a trilogy and people love it, so we gotta do another trilogy. I don't know whose idea that was, I don't know who thought that, but they were wrong. The main reason that this is my favorite, besides just that it has the best pacing, is Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug. Holy fuck. If you get the chance, go on YouTube and find clips of him, like behind the scenes, of him in the mocap suit doing motion capture for Smaug. It reminds me of the clips of Andy Serkis in the Planet of the Apes movies, but funnier, because Andy Serkis is still like upright. He's just doing like ape stuff. Benedict Cumberbatch is going full lizard mode, and out of context, it's fucking hilarious. But in the movie, it works so fantastically. Smaug is a great villain. He is a great threat. He's part of why that first action scene in the third movie is my favorite, because he's not just a physical threat. He's also a very smart villain. He has a keen intellect, and he immediately sees through many of Bilbo's ideas. And Bilbo kind of has to match him in a battle of wits and words, and it works so goddamn well. The third act of this movie is just...
My teeth are swords. My claws are spears. My wings are a hurricane.
So it is true. The Black Arrow found its mark.
What did you say?
I was just saying, your reputation precedes you, O Smaug the tyrannical. Truly, you have no equal on this earth.
I am almost tempted to let you take it, if only to see Oakenshield suffer. Watch it destroy him. Watch it corrupt his heart and drive him mad.
But it's still not great. It still has the same problems. It's stretched out too much. They added too much. And ultimately, it just feels unnecessarily long. A score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 4 is The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. I had no idea what to expect going into this. I was pleasantly surprised. It's no masterpiece, but this is the first movie in this ranking that I would consider genuinely great. This is a great fucking movie. My one complaint with this movie is that it borrows a few too many plot points from Peter Jackson's original trilogy, but that's it. It's not a beat-for-beat rehash. It's not like this and this and this and this, like a checklist. It's not that. It's not the Oldboy remake. God, that movie's ass. Moving on. It's not that. It uses plot points, but it doesn't always use them in the same way. It uses them in a different order or it uses them in a different context. So, while it's reusing some plot points, it's still creating something new in the finished product. The animation from, what company? Okay, so I'm looking at the studios involved with this. We have the three I don't recognize are Sola Entertainment, Wingnut Films, and Domain Entertainment. I am assuming one of those is the anime company that was responsible for the animation of this movie, and whichever company it was...
Magnificent! Magnificent! Magnificent!
The animation is the best part of this movie. While watching this movie, there are multiple times where I said something to the effect of, holy shit, this animation is gorgeous, this animation is so fluid, this is beautiful. There were like 4 or 5 different moments where I said something to that effect out loud. And deservedly so. This movie is gorgeous. To the point where the script kind of pales by comparison. The writing is good. The writing is really fucking good. But like, the animation is just the best thing about this movie. Followed closely by the music. The music here is the best outside of Peter Jackson's trilogy. It is a fantastic mix of old and new, and it just works phenomenally. The voice cast here is fantastic, even from those who aren't normally voice actors. We have Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand. He is, like, Helm Hammerhand is very big and boisterous, I think is the right word, and Brian Cox absolutely nails that.
The wisest move is to fall back to our strongholds. Light the beacons. Call for aid from Gondor.
The wisest move? You would have me abandon Edoras.
Until we are at full strength. Yes. This is no rabble of wild men. These men are well-trained and well-armed.
I pledge 300 riders to protect the eastern flank. The men of the Wold stand ready to fight.
I accept your pledge. Lord Thorn shall have command of the east. I will lead the vanguard north and meet Wolf on the plains.
We have Gaia Wise as Hera, who either has mostly done TV prior to this point, or is just a relatively new actress, because I only see 3 movies listed on her letterbox, including this one. But she is fantastic. Like, she nails every emotional scene. We have, let me see, mostly names I don't recognize here, because voice actors. Luke Pasqualino as Wolf. He is pretty great. Lawrence Williams, Lorraine Ashburn are both really fucking good. We have Miranda Otto reprising her role as Éowyn, basically being the narrator. First of all, it is wonderful to hear her voice again. She has such a lovely voice. Second of all, it makes perfect sense that she is the one telling this story, considering the many similarities between her and Hera. Oh, and there might be a couple of familiar voices, although they might sound a little different, because we get cameos from Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, aka Merry and Pippin, as a couple of goblins that Hera briefly encounters. This one is only a little over 2 hours long. It's at 134 minutes, so as great as Peter Jackson's trilogy is, those movies are long as fuck. And it's not that that's a bad thing, because they use every minute, but here, it tells a more concise story. And so it doesn't need to be extra long. It's only about 2 hours long. And that runtime works for it. I'm parroting this from Cinematic Excrement, but I agree with it 100%. The runtime of your movie should be the time you need to tell the story. If your story is 35 minutes long, make it a short film. If your story is 9 hours long, either split it into 4 parts or make it a limited series. But in this case, this story is 132 minutes long. Well, okay. The story only needed 2 hours to tell. So, it works. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 3 is The Fellowship of the Ring. This movie is phenomenal. This movie... There's the fantasy RPG story where it's the party going on these adventures. This is the one movie in the trilogy that actually kind of feels like that. After this movie, everything gets bigger and more grand. This is the movie where it just a little bit, it feels like people playing D&D, but like in the best possible way. Like you have the ranger, you have the, I don't know what Legolas would be. Would he be a ranger or would he be, no. Legolas would be, an arcane archer. Aragorn would be the range, well, Aragorn he is a ranger. The hobbits are all probably rogues. Boromir is a fighter. Gimli is, well, I want to say a barbarian, but he does wear armor at various points, so I think he would be a fighter too. Or maybe he's, no, Gimli is a battle rager barbarian who just wears chainmail instead of the spiked armor. There you go. And then, of course, Gandalf is the party wizard. All they're missing is a healer. R.I.P. Aragorn. Moving on. This movie absolutely succeeds at everything it's trying to do. The script is tight. The actors are all at the top of their game. Everyone understands the assignment. Everyone is giving it their all. The music is fucking legendary. And considering that we don't even meet half of the Fellowship until the second half of the movie, they all get fleshed out. And just in the second half of this movie, Boromir gets a full-on character arc before he dies. The big epic battles we get later are fantastic. They are excellently done. But I do love the smaller scale fights we get here. This final battle, it's our heroes against, what is it, 100 or 200 Uruk-hai? Which is like a small fraction of the army that gets sent to Helm's Deep. Also, this movie has one of the most underrated badass moments of the entire trilogy, which is during the fight with the cave troll. When Merry and Pippin see the cave troll, like, attack Frodo and presumably think he's dead, because, like, they have no reason, they don't know about the mithril armor, they think he's dead. Their gut reaction is to flip their short swords into reverse grips, jump on this thing's back, and just start wailing on it. Like, goddamn, like, it's not just fight or flight, it's like fight, flight, freeze, or faint. And they chose fight. Low-key, my favorite moment of the entire movie. My score is 5 out of 5. Number 2 is The Two Towers. This movie is the start of my least favorite part of the trilogy, but it's also just a small step up. My least favorite part of this trilogy is Frodo and Sam and Gollum. I still love it. It's still great. Andy Serkis deserved Oscars for this movie and Return of the King. It's just my least favorite part of this phenomenal movie and its phenomenal sequel. We are out of the D&D feeling scale of things. We are now into something bigger. But the transition works. We have the splitting of the Fellowship, so now we have Frodo and Sam, and Merry and Pippin, and then Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. Because Gandalf is MIA, and Boromir's dead. This movie is a seamless transition between the comparatively small scale of the first movie and the comparatively bigger scale of the third movie. Because it starts out a little smaller, and then it grows and grows and grows until we get the fucking Battle of Helm's Deep, one of the greatest battles in the history of fiction, in spite of some questionable tactics, but hey, that's Hollywood tactics for you. Like, just for example, in real life, medieval archers did not draw and then wait for a command to all fire at once, because longbows and even short bows, they take a lot of... Okay, that's one thing. When I did my mummy ranking and the Scorpion King, that's one thing that the Scorpion King got right, which is it takes a lot of strength to fire certain bows. So you can't just hold it indefinitely. Yes, Tomb Raider lied to you. It falls under the trope of reality is unrealistic, in that it is the kind of thing that audiences have come to expect. So to not have it would feel wrong. I get that, I can accept it, it's part of why the battle is so fucking epic. And also, this movie has maybe my favorite comedic beat in the entire trilogy, towards the end, during the Ents' assault on Saruman's tower. At one point, you see the orcs are shooting arrows, and one of them lights his arrows on fire. Lands a couple hits on one of the Ents, and that Ent catches fire.
Because they're made of wood?
Because they're made of wood. So then later, when they break the dam and release the river, you see that Ent going like this, and like dousing himself in the water to get the flames off.
Hold on!
Hold on, little hobbit!
It's like the best bit of subtle comedy in the entire trilogy. The score is 5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Return of the King. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't hate the ending. Yes, this is the longest of the 3. This movie is like 4 fucking hours long. Well, okay, the extended edition is like 4 hours long, I should say. But first of all, it does not waste a single minute. Second of all, the reason the ending drags on so long is because they are wrapping up everything. Every storyline that has not already been wrapped up has to get wrapped up. So, that's everything. Merry and Pippin, Frodo and Sam, Aragorn, Legolas, everything has to get wrapped up. You can't just not wrap things up. You can't just leave something hanging, because there's no sequel to Lord of the Rings. And they weren't planning to make one. So you have to wrap things up, otherwise people will be like, well, what about that? That didn't get a resolution. So that's why the ending goes on for so long, because there's a lot of shit to wrap up. But no, this is the biggest, the best, the most epic. I do have one small problem. It's the same as the Two Towers. It's not even a problem. It's just that the Frodo, Sam, and Gollum bits are my least favorite. I still enjoy them. I still love them. I just love everything else more. The actual Battle of Minas Tirith itself is a step down from Helm's Deep, but the Charge of the Rohirrim and that whole entire sequence is probably the greatest battle in all of Lord of the Rings. It also gives us the second and final major character death in this entire trilogy from King Theoden. As a whole, this movie is just the best. The best acting, the best music, the best writing. Everything here is either the best or not far enough behind to make any bit of difference. The score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why. Try to be constructive. Because, you know, maybe it'll actually be something that I'm not great at and could you do better at. And then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that. Tell me why that one sucks. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.